Have you ever experienced a situation where someone's silence felt more powerful than words? A narcissist, for instance, often uses silence as a weapon, leaving others in a state of confusion and uncertainty. But what is the psychology behind this behavior? Why do narcissists remain silent? And what does it truly mean? In this video, we'll delve into the hidden psychological mechanisms behind a narcissist's silence. You will learn how this silence can affect you and why it's a tactic deeply rooted in control, power, and manipulation. Understanding this behavior is crucial because it can provide clarity and help you navigate relationships with narcissistic individuals. So stay tuned as we uncover the hidden truth behind this silent weapon. When we think about narcissism, we often imagine a person who thrives on admiration, attention, and control. However, narcissists don't just use charm and manipulation to maintain control. They also use silence as a subtle yet powerful weapon. This silence isn't just about avoiding conflict or choosing to ignore someone. It's a deliberate tactic to establish dominance in a relationship. A narcissist knows that silence creates confusion and emotional distress in others, which allows them to retain control over the situation. By withdrawing communication, they can leave their victim wondering, questioning their own behavior, and seeking validation. This is especially damaging because it taps into one of our core emotional needs, the need for connection and reassurance. For example, when a narcissist gives you the silent treatment, you might feel isolated and anxious. You may start second-guessing yourself, wondering what went wrong or how to fix things. This emotional turmoil plays directly into the narcissist's hands as it forces you to seek their approval or attention on their terms. The silence becomes a mechanism to manipulate your emotions, pushing you into a cycle of dependency. In essence, the narcissist's silence is not just about ignoring someone, it's about exercising control. They use this tactic to keep others off balance, to make sure they remain the one in power in the relationship. Understanding this dynamic is the first step toward reclaiming your own emotional well-being and recognizing when you're being manipulated. Narcissists often use silence as a form of emotional manipulation, and one of the most insidious ways they do this is through gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological tactic where the narcissist makes you question your own reality, perception, and sanity. When paired with silence, it becomes a powerful tool for destabilizing your sense of self. For instance, imagine you've had a disagreement with a narcissist, and instead of addressing the issue, they withdraw emotionally. They stop responding, avoid eye contact, and remain distant. This silence leaves you feeling confused and unsure of where you stand in the relationship. Over time, the narcissist may subtly suggest that you are overreacting or imagining things, further reinforcing your doubt. They may say things like, "You're too sensitive," or "I never said that," when they've done exactly that. This creates an emotional fog, causing you to question whether your feelings are valid. The narcissist's silence plays into the gaslighting process by keeping you in a state of uncertainty. Without clear communication, you are left to second-guess every interaction, wondering if you misunderstood or misinterpreted their behavior. In this way, the narcissist can control the narrative, manipulate your thoughts, and maintain their superior position in the relationship. By using silence as a tool for gaslighting, narcissists create a cycle of self-doubt and confusion that leaves their victims dependent on them for validation. This emotional manipulation can be difficult to break free from, as it takes time to recognize that the problem is not you, but rather the manipulative tactics of the narcissist. The silent treatment is one of the most common and distressing ways a narcissist uses silence as a tool of punishment. It may seem like a passive form of communication, but in reality, it is a highly calculated act meant to hurt, control, and manipulate. By refusing to speak or acknowledge the victim, the narcissist enforces emotional isolation as a way to punish their target for perceived wrongdoings or disobedience. The narcissist may impose silence as a way to assert power, particularly when they feel their authority is being challenged. If, for example, you stand up for yourself or challenge their behavior, the narcissist may respond by shutting you out entirely, refusing to engage in conversation or acknowledge your presence. This act of silence serves as a direct punishment, making the victim feel small, insignificant, and worthless. The silent treatment also creates an emotional power imbalance. The victim is left waiting for the narcissist to graciously break their silence, which may or may not happen. This uncertainty causes significant distress and forces the victim to beg for attention, apology, or reconciliation on the narcissist's terms. By imposing silence in this way, the narcissist is not only punishing, but also reinforcing their dominance and control over the victim's emotions. What makes the silent treatment particularly damaging is its prolonged nature. Narcissists often withhold communication for extended periods, making it difficult for the victim to ever predict when the silence will end. This uncertainty forces the victim to remain in a state of anxiety, hoping to appease the narcissist and return to a normal state of connection. Understanding that the silent treatment is not a mere act of avoidance, but a deliberate tool of emotional punishment and control can help individuals recognize it for what it truly is, an abusive tactic designed to undermine their confidence and keep them under the narcissist's control. A narcissist's silence can also be strategically used to exploit one of the most primal human fears, the fear of abandonment. Narcissists are often highly aware of the emotional vulnerabilities of those around them, and they use this awareness to their advantage. By withdrawing communication, they trigger the victim's fear of being left alone, unloved, or forgotten. This fear is incredibly powerful and can cause significant emotional turmoil for those in relationships with narcissists. The narcissist knows that silence makes you question your worth and the stability of the relationship. When they go silent, they put you in a position where you feel you must do whatever it takes to get their attention and approval, all to avoid the dread of being abandoned. This fear of abandonment becomes a tool for the narcissist to keep the victim engaged and submissive, ensuring that the narcissist remains the central focus of the relationship. What makes this dynamic so toxic is that the narcissist uses the fear of abandonment to gain control over you. Rather than offering emotional security or support, they reinforce the idea that you are always on the verge of losing their affection, creating a cycle of dependency. You may find yourself constantly working to win their favor, adjusting your behavior, or seeking their validation, all in an attempt to prevent their silence from turning into a permanent form of emotional distance. By using silence to manipulate this fear, the narcissist solidifies their power and the victim becomes more emotionally tethered to the narcissist's whims and mood swings. Over time, this dynamic erodes the victim's sense of independence, leaving them feeling helpless and unsure of how to break free from the cycle. Narcissists thrive on control, and one of the most potent tools they use to assert dominance in relationships is the silent treatment. This tactic goes beyond just withholding communication. It's an intentional power play designed to establish superiority over the other person. The narcissist uses silence to remind the other person that they are in fact the one with the power in the relationship. By withdrawing emotionally, The narcissist sends a clear message: you are at my mercy. They understand that their silence creates an emotional vacuum that forces the other person to beg for their attention, validation, or approval. The longer the silence lasts, the more desperate and powerless the victim may feel, strengthening the narcissist's position. Narcissists often use silence as a way of punishing their partner for perceived disobedience, rejection, or failure to comply with their needs. It's not uncommon for the narcissist to give the silent treatment after an argument, particularly when they feel that their authority has been questioned or they've been challenged in some way. By imposing this silence, they reassert control, making it clear that any challenge to their behavior will not be tolerated. This power play through silence can be subtle or dramatic. In some cases, the narcissist may give a cold, unapproachable silence, leaving their partner uncertain about what went wrong. In others, the silence might be used in more extreme ways, such as cutting off all communication for days, weeks, or even longer. Regardless of the form it takes, the intent is always the same: to remind the victim of the narcissist's control and to force them into a position of submission. Understanding this dynamic can help individuals in narcissistic relationships recognize when they are being subjected to emotional manipulation. It's important to acknowledge that the silent treatment is a deliberate tactic designed to reinforce power imbalances and keep the victim emotionally dependent on the narcissist. Only by recognizing this pattern can one begin to reclaim control and break free from the cycle. While the narcissist's silence may seem like a short-term issue, its emotional effects can linger for much longer, leaving lasting scars on the victim's mental and emotional well-being. Over time, constant exposure to silent treatment and emotional withdrawal can lead to a series of psychological consequences that affect one's self-esteem, sense of self-worth, and ability to trust others. One of the most significant long-term effects of a narcissist's silence is the erosion of self-confidence. Victims of this manipulation often start to internalize the silence, questioning their own actions, behavior, or value. The silence makes them feel as though they are not worthy of attention, love, or acknowledgement. They may constantly strive to earn the narcissist's approval, which can lead to a cycle of seeking external validation rather than developing a healthy sense of self-worth. Additionally, the constant emotional instability created by the narcissist's silence can lead to heightened anxiety and stress. Victims often live in a state of anticipation, wondering when the next silence will occur and whether or not they will be able to break it. This emotional roller coaster, marked by unpredictable bouts of silence followed by brief moments of interaction, can take a toll on mental health, leading to feelings of chronic unease, depression, or even PTSD in extreme cases. Another long-term impact is the effect on future relationships. Because of the narcissist's use of silence as a form of manipulation, the victim may begin to associate silence with punishment or rejection. This can create a fear of abandonment in future relationships, where the individual may overcompensate or avoid conflict altogether to prevent triggering a similar emotional response. This conditioning over time can lead to unhealthy relationship patterns where the individual either over-accommodates or withdraws completely to avoid confrontation or silence. Finally, a narcissist's silence creates a toxic environment of emotional isolation. The victim may begin to feel increasingly disconnected from their own emotions, losing sight of their personal boundaries and needs. They may also struggle to form trusting relationships, as the narcissist's silence has taught them to question the sincerity and stability of others' emotional availability. Recognizing these long-term emotional impacts is crucial for breaking free from the cycle of manipulation. Healing requires acknowledging the demand caused by the narcissist's behavior and taking active steps to rebuild self-worth, regain emotional stability, and cultivate healthier relationships in the future. In this video, we've uncovered the hidden psychological tactics behind a narcissist's silence, from its use as a tool of control to its impact on emotional well-being. The narcissist's silence is not a mere absence of words. It's a calculated, deliberate strategy to manipulate, dominate, and undermine those around them. Whether it's through emotional manipulation, punishment, or the exploitation of deep-rooted fears, the silence becomes a weapon that can significantly affect a person's mental and emotional health. But understanding the psychology behind this behavior is the first step toward breaking free from it. When you can identify the tactics at play, you gain the power to stop the cycle of manipulation and regain control over your emotions and your relationships. Recognize that the narcissist's silence is not a reflection of your worth. It's a tactic designed to destabilize and control. As you move forward, remember that your value is not determined by their actions or words. The key to healing and growth lies in setting healthy boundaries, rebuilding your self-confidence, and finding the courage to walk away from toxic dynamics. Silence can only hold power over you if you allow it to. If you've been affected by narcissistic manipulation, know that you are not alone. Seek support from those who truly care for you, and remember that your emotional well-being is worth protecting. Don't let silence keep you in the shadows. Embrace your voice, reclaim your power, and step into healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video has provided you with clarity and insight. If you found it helpful, please like, comment, and share. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos on psychological insights and emotional well-being. Stay empowered and take control of your life.